What is going on, everyone? My name is Turk. This is Level 1 News, and today we are going to be talking about the Xbox Game Showcase that is happening on July 23rd. This is going to be Microsoft's presentation showing off games that are going to be coming to the Xbox Series X. But what games can we expect to see there? Well, the big one is going to be, of course, Halo Infinite. They already mentioned this one. And this is going to be Halo's first big reveal, really, because we've only gotten a few trailers without any actual gameplay before this. So I do expect them to talk about Halo Infinite for a good chunk of this presentation. I think probably 10 minutes, if not more than that, because they really need to go over all the details of this game. They're probably gonna have to go over like the campaign, the multiplayer modes, all that. I think that this is going to be a very different kind of Halo game. I think that it's going to be open world, maybe with some shared world elements similar to Destiny. So they have to really kind of talk about all these details and how this game is going to be different than other past Halo games. One prediction that I will make for Halo Infinite is that I think that there's going to be a free-to-play multiplayer mode that is going to be available for everybody. There's lots of other franchises that have been doing something similar to this, and Halo's been away for quite some time now. There's a good amount of people that probably haven't even played Halo back in the day. This kind of has to be like Microsoft really convincing gamers to get back into the Halo franchise, and I think a good way to do that would be through a multiplayer mode that is free to play. I don't know if it'll be like a battle royale mode or something kind of similar, but made for Halo. But I think it would be a smart move on Microsoft's part to get as many people in the door as possible, because what you really want is for people to either buy the game or to just get on Xbox Game Pass, which would be a good way to do that. If you could get people playing a free-to-play version and then they get interested in the actual game itself, they can just subscribe to Xbox Game Pass. And I'm sure Microsoft definitely would want them to join the Xbox brand that way. So I think Halo Infinite will be definitely a big part of this presentation. The other game, which they haven't announced yet, but I really do think that it will be there, is Forza Motorsport. Forza Motorsport 8 should have been out by now, because if you go according to their schedule, Forza Motorsport comes out every other year. So by going by that schedule, Forza Motorsport 8 should have come out in 2019 last year, but it didn't, because they're obviously waiting for the Xbox Series X, and I'm sure they're really building the game particularly for Xbox Series X to take advantage of all of the technical upgrades that the Series X is going to be able to provide. I'm sure they're going to show it off in 4K at a really high frame rate and with ray tracing and all that next gen stuff. So I expect that Forza Motorsport don't think it will be called Forza Motorsport 8. I think this is going to be kind of similar with Halo Infinite, where Halo Infinite isn't called Halo 6. The reason why they didn't call it Halo 6 is because they want to do a little bit of a reboot to these franchises. So I think that Forza Motorsport, it won't be called Forza Motorsport 8. I think it'll just be called Forza Motorsport or Forza Motorsport and then something else, because I do think that Microsoft is looking at these franchises and at this next gen as a little bit of a fresh start for them. So because of that, I think they're going to almost treat these almost as a little bit of a reboot to these franchises. So again, I think Forza Motorsport will have a big part in this presentation. I think similar to Halo Infinite, I think they might even do a free-to-play version for Forza Motorsport, just to again get as many people in the door as possible. We'll see what they do with Forza Motorsport, but I would say that it's a pretty likely game that will be at the presentation. Now, the next game that they've announced in the past, HELLBLADE 2. That is a game that from Ninja Theory, which is a team that Microsoft bought somewhat recently in the past few years, and HELLBLADE 2 will kind of be their first major game as Xbox owned, as a Microsoft owned studio. They already showed a teaser trailer for HELLBLADE 2, so I think you can expect to see a gameplay trailer this time, kind of going through maybe a level or two of the game. I don't think they'll actually like take too much time talking about it, just because I think Halo Infinite and Forza is probably going to take up such a huge amount of time of the presentation. But I do think Hellblade 2 will be there and will have a gameplay trailer. The next major game that I think that they will show is Fable. Now, this game has not been announced yet, but it's like really rumored. There is a lot of evidence saying that it's going to most likely be a Fable game. It's being made by the team that made Forza Horizon, that series. Most likely we'll get at least some sort of teaser trailer. Maybe they might not actually show like gameplay. I think it might be too early for that, but at the very least some sort of like logo, and then maybe like a little bit of a teaser. I do think though it will not be called Fable 4. Again, somewhat similar to the other games that I mentioned. I think they're going to consider this like a little bit of a reboot, so I think it's just going to be called Fable or Fable and then something else, but I don't think they'll be calling it Fable 4. But it is very interesting that they're bringing the franchise back, and hopefully it kind of recaptures the magic of previous Fable games. Now, there is another game that a lot of people are talking about, or it's like it's really rumored, but that's the game that is being made by Microsoft's newly made development team, which is called The Initiative. And the rumor is that they're supposed to be making a Perfect Dark reboot. Now, personally, I'd rather them make a new franchise, but yeah, they might be doing a Perfect Dark reboot. I mean, Perfect Dark is a game series that, like, I mean, there's not that many games to begin with that franchise, so it's almost like, you know, if you're rebooting it, you're almost creating like a new franchise. But that is the rumor behind what this game studio is making, and it's supposed to be a studio that's supposed to be making big games like that are like story games that can directly go head to head with like the Sony first party games. So like games like God of War and Uncharted. So it's gonna be a game that is like similar to that. But I don't know if we'll actually see anything from them, just because from what I can tell, the game is still kind of early in development. So I wouldn't expect that too much, but if they do show it, it'll probably just be, again, like just a logo and a teaser trailer at the most. But yeah, if they show it, that'd be really great. It would be really, you know, interesting and really show that Microsoft is committed to trying to take on Sony with their first party games. The next game I think that will be shown at the presentation is this game called Everwild. And that is a game being made by Rare. Rare did show the game at some point earlier on, and it was kind of like a teaser trailer. They didn't really show off like what the game really is. They didn't talk about like the gameplay at all. It's like this really like colorful, like really nice aesthetic looking game that takes place out in like the jungle, or like in the jungle, or like in the forest. But they really didn't talk about it, so we really don't know what to expect from that game, but we really don't know what the game is about. But I do think that it will be shown in some way at this presentation. The next game I think is also will most likely be at this Xbox game showcase is Minecraft. Now, it wouldn't be a Microsoft presentation without some kind of mention of Minecraft. And I think for this presentation, they'll probably just show the Minecraft game running on Series X with like these enhancements, whatever the enhancements they plan on bringing, like, you know, upgraded graphics, ray tracing, whatever, all that next gen stuff. They'll probably bring over to that franchise, to Minecraft, and just, again, probably just have like a trailer showing that stuff off. I don't think they'll announce like a new game in the Minecraft series. I don't think they'll announce like maybe they can announce like a game mode within Minecraft, but I don't think there will be like a major new game coming from that. Mostly just like talking about like the enhancements and stuff like that. The next game I think is also will most likely be shown is Psychonauts 2. That is a game that has already been shown before. We've seen trailers of it. As a reminder, Psychonauts 2 will not be an exclusive, even though it is right now. The team is a first-party studio for Microsoft. Psychonauts 2 was announced before they were bought by Microsoft, so because of that, Psychonauts 2 was announced for PlayStation before that, so it's going to be coming out to PlayStation. Not the biggest game, but I know there are fans out there for Psychonauts, and I'm sure they'll be interested to see this game when it's released, but I'm sure they will show that game as well at this presentation. I think they'll also talk a little bit about current gen games that will have an enhanced version for next gen. So I think like a good example for this is Gears 5. I think there's a very good chance that Gears 5 will have some enhanced edition that will take advantage fully of the Xbox Series X, and it'll probably be like a free upgrade and all that. So I think you could expect to see several current gen games have like an enhanced edition announced for the Xbox Series X. I think they'll probably also have a section of the presentation for indie games, similar to how Sony did with the PlayStation 5 reveal. I'm sure they'll have a few indie games that are either like announced or indie games that we've seen before, but maybe they get like a release date, something like that. Now I know there are other Microsoft studios that are working on games for the Xbox Series X, but I think a lot of them are still like kind of early in development, so I don't think they'll be talking too much about those. And they already have plenty to talk about, you know, with all these games that we've mentioned now. It really is all about Halo Infinite, in my opinion. Halo Infinite needs to be the game that really impresses people, and that's the game that they have to focus on and talk about it, and like really go through all the details and really convince Xbox fans and just gamers in general that this is a franchise that's going to be worth getting back into, because, you know, Halo hasn't been around for a while. The last Halo game, Halo 5, it's been a while since that game was around, and when that game did come out, it was not that impressive of a game. And Halo is supposed to be the franchise for Microsoft. That's supposed to be like the biggest game for them. So this game now, Halo Infinite, has to like be like really like impressive to get people, you know, interested back into the series again. Halo is not what it used to be anymore, and that's a problem for Microsoft. They really need to like reinvest in that franchise again and get people on board. I think a big part of it is that they need to have a really interesting campaign for Halo, and one that is like, you know, has like a cast of characters and has like a lot of lore to it and a lot of story. Again, it's kind of similar to like Uncharted. They almost need to go in that direction a little bit for the campaign, just so we kind of have like you know, a connection again to like the Halo story. So they really need to convince gamers to get back into Halo, and really like even more than that, this is Microsoft having to convince gamers in general that they are, you know, gonna go head to head with Sony with first party exclusives. The Xbox One, the exclusives for the Xbox One were nowhere near as good as the exclusives for PlayStation 4, like not even remotely close. And you know, there was a bunch of games that they even announced that never even came out, like Scalebound. Another one was Fable Legends. And then there was plenty of games that came out, but they weren't really good at all, like Crackdown 3. So that was a big problem for Microsoft in this current gen with the Xbox One. So that's a big thing that they have to really improve upon with the next gen, and they have to really show that they're really gonna go head to head with Sony with their exclusives. And this presentation, this game showcase, is like that first major step in that process that they're going to have to talk about and convince gamers again that this is the Microsoft that and an Xbox that is worth investing in. And they can't just be putting out like okay exclusives anymore. It has to be like really good, well-made games, very impressive games. It has to be like a complete difference between the current gen and the next gen, the way they're approaching their first party games, their first party exclusives. they completely lost to Sony when it comes to their first party exclusives. Sony had like so many good exclusives for the PlayStation 4, and Microsoft barely had any that were on the same level as Sony's exclusives. So that's really the big thing that they need to focus on. And that, again, that's what this presentation is really going to be all about. It's about convincing people that this is a big difference in the way they approached first party exclusives from the current gen. So that's what I think that they're gonna show at the Xbox Game Showcase. Let me know in the comments if there's a game that you wanna see announced by Microsoft. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. My name is Turk, and this is Level 1 News.